for those people that don't know me, my name is Don McKay. I'm the band manager for Montreal Lake. And I do speak Cree, so if you swear at me in Cree, I'll understand you. But I do speak a little bit of different Cree. I speak with the N dialect, not the TH, so I get laughed at Montreal Lake when I start speaking Cree, but it's okay. I still understand you. So we're gonna get going. I'll ask our elder, Eliza, to say an opening prayer for us. So if you can remove your hats and stand, that would be great.
Ja, kenanaskum no, umutaka peta kohti tama mopia. Yoko kikoi tamskoi tama desa miupaik ka ita kawawikiak. Saskatoon, PA, Little Red, Montreal Lake, Raccoon, and Timber Bay. Kahki oeguni. Maga kintatamat no. Tawichi taimi hara ko tawina ko big squatan kanto tamon no tawina ai ka kiuki ko ka peitaman kinanas kum nanos ka toxic igo ke mi chechik o ke daishini nan ksemanto maka entatamatan tawichi hiak Mamo Pun Hanot. So each had our chief Semanto Cominan who tatos kahakana and her counselors, which he sawemik the marking Matesa Quest desquaitatic itakau kavautic Semanto commento tamatan kahkio kinta tamatan kikoi kamyasik e ko minano chut ka kiwa tamina kinta tamatan tawichi ta soemia e ko ka pena gata ko e ko nikmina soemi e ko me kinta tamatan te hekochi ai hai ksemanto kikoses mo Jesus ai hai.
Thank you so much, Eliza. Just so you guys know that this is an important meeting. We've had last year we had general assemblies through Prince Albert, Little Red, and Montreal Lake. So this year we're doing Saskatoon, Prince Albert tomorrow, and Little Red on Wednesday, and Montreal Lake on Thursday. The other thing I'm going to mention is, if you look at the agenda up there, that there is a little update on the claims update, and our lawyer will be here a little later on to talk about an update, and especially the update on cows and plows. So she'll be here. But this meeting is not for cows and plows. There will be an update, but this meeting is to discuss all that's on the agenda. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows there will be an update, but there'll be separate meetings, I'm sure, in Saskatoon, PA, Little Red, and Montreal Lake for cows and plows later on, because you know, the agenda is going to call for that later on, just a specific meeting for cows and plows. So there'll be an update tonight, but this meeting, that's all it's going to be, is an update on cows and plows, plus all the other stuff. So having said that, I'm going to call the chief, Joyce McLeod, to come up here and give us opening remarks and introduce the council that's here. Joyce is also an Oilers fan, I know that.
And that's why they're winning.
Good afternoon, good evening. It's now our elder, Eliza, for the opening prayer. Our Creator, for bringing us here today. And this is the first time we've had our assembly in Saskatoon. According to the Election Act, we have to have one in Saskatoon. And it's the first time, there's so much, you come in here and there's so much positive energy. I know some people that travel from Montreal Lake, Prince Albert area, in Saskatoon, there's a lot of people I don't know. For those of you that don't know me, my maiden name is Joyce Nintauha. My dad was LC, my mom and dad was LC. I got John Nintauha, Montreal Lake, I got the son, Mr. Solomon from Sturgeon Lake. And so I want to welcome each and every one of you for coming here. I won't be here for long. We have a long list of things to do here in this agenda. I will stay with Conrad. So I just want to tell you guys, I'm kind of this weekend I went to stand on mission. I went to a poker rally with my family. They say poker rally hangover. That's what I'm feeling right now. I don't drink. I haven't drank for 25 years. I have a hangover because every muscle in my body is sore. And I went home that night because I couldn't sleep. I kept on smelling gas. Is there a gas leak here? I couldn't figure it out. I wake up everybody almost after midnight. There's a gas. I can smell gas in the house. And I was wondering. I said, well, what's going on? I said, well, what if we're all dead in the morning? I said, we explode or what happens? What if the fumes kill us? Be this big, I know some joke I said, Nimis, because all my grandkids call me Nimis. Nimis, you're the one who smells like gas. You smell like skidoo gas. So that was the first time. I had so much fun. But I want to introduce the council. Maybe I'm going to give you these things so you can introduce yourselves. Stomach. Come and introduce yourselves. We don't have too much time.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see everybody here. My name is Jeff Badger. I'm the second urban councillor I represent Prince Albert North. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Conrad Nitaho. I'm one of the new councillors for Montreal Lake a couple of months ago, and the by-election, and I share portfolios with Carol with prevention and detox, and I have other items on the portfolio, but I'll just skip through that. And I'm just here to support the band program reports, and also to support my fellow council here, and also the urban councillors and the other councillors that are here today. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Give thanks to our Creator for allowing us to be here today. Give thanks to Eliza for your prayers, for opening our meeting, and Dawn for being our MC today. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Carol Nitaha. I'm one of the band counselors for On Reserve, so look forward to this evening. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Troy Nitaha, band counselor in Montreal Lake. Thank you, Eliza, for the opening prayer this morning. Thank you, Dawn, for being MC, and I'm glad to see a lot of people here. Looking forward to the reports, and I hope you have a good evening. Thank you.
Good afternoon or evening, whatever it is. I just want to welcome everyone here. This is an opportunity to hear what some of our programs are doing within Montreal Lake Cree Nation. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Dean Henderson. I'm the Vice Chief for Montreal Lake. Some of my programs that I oversee are post-secondary back there. Bonnie has a little information booth going on. Education is one of my other ones. And one of the big ones that we are preparing for coming up, one of our big events for Montreal Lake is our $100,000 fish derby. So, that's one of the big fundraising events for our nation, and, proud to be from Montreal Lake when it comes to events like that, right? So, any questions that you have on that, we're always looking for volunteers. That's a big event for our nation. Lots going on at that time. So feel free to ask questions. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you to my Auntie Eliza for opening us in a good way. And thank you to Dawn. Sorry, I'm just stuttering. Welcome everybody. It's nice to see every table filled. And I look forward to all the reports that are going to be done this evening. And part of my portfolios is detox. I co-share with Carol on quite a few of our portfolios. Thank you. Detox is one of them. Virginia is here. She's our manager. And prevention, Jordan's principal, MLCFA. So I look forward to the next 3 days after today, and going to PA tomorrow, Little Red and Montreal Lake. So, then again.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Alyssa Helkett. I'm a bike counselor for Little Red. I went around and shook everyone's hand. It's good to see you all. It's a little toasty in here, so I hope you guys are okay. But thank you, Eliza, for the opening prayer, and the chief for the introductions to all of us. And I hope it's a good night Sunday. Thank you.
My name is Eldon Henderson, urban counselor since 2017, and we have a good team here. Our last by-election took place in the fall. Conrad got in as our new Montreal Lake sector councillor, so that fulfilled our mandate, I guess, for our nation as a full council. And I want to thank the elder for the opening prayer, the team that's set up here, Don Mackay and his team, his staff, our band members that have traveled to Saskatoon. I want to thank you guys for that too. And we do have a long evening here, so we don't want to be too long and long-winded, but I want to share our appreciation for all our council being here tonight. Anuts, and thank you.
I forgot to acknowledge our elder advisory group in the back there. You guys want to stand up, Stephen? For Montreal Lake Cree Nation, we have an elders advisory group. They're the wise people. They're here to support us. He was like, hi.
Thank you, Chief and Council. Look forward to this evening and all the reports. We're running a little late already. It's 5 o'clock, so we're going to go right into the agenda with our financial audit. So I'm just going to give Jason a few minutes here to set up, and then we'll go right into his report. Jason's got 50 copies of the financial audit, and they're going to be handed out here to each of the tables. We don't have enough copies, so we'll try and share them and make sure at least one table gets at least one audit. The other thing that Jason did last year, and he's doing it again this year, is that he donates financial contribution to each sector. So tonight, Jason is donating $100, and then $100 tomorrow in PA, $100 in Little Red, and also $100 in Montreal Lake. So he donates money to our as a prize. So I'll turn it over to Jason, and I'll run the computer for you. Okay, the other thing I forgot to mention is that we're live, we're videoing and it's live, so there's a video camera back there and we're broadcasting this live, so just to make sure that everybody in the room that you make sure that you're aware that this is being recorded. Also prizes, there'll be 2 Fish Derby tickets for prizes tonight, and also Bonnie's got some prizes back there, so we'll be making some draws for door prizes later on, so make sure you get your tickets at the door if you haven't done so. All right, Jason, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank the Elder for the opening prayer, Chief and Council for inviting me, and all of you for coming out. Sorry I'm a bit short on copies. I think this is the biggest crowd. I've done these for a few years for Montreal Lake. I don't think we've ever had more than 50 at one event, so it's good to see so many people out tonight. My name is Jason Linz. I'm a CPA, so a Chartered Professional Accountant with MNP. I'm located here in Saskatoon. So I've been working on the Montreal Lake audit for about 4 or 5 years now. Our PA office had done it previously, so we've had a long-standing relationship with Montreal Lake. So I'm essentially just going to give you a financial summary. So our slide presentation here, I first just want to give credit. We commissioned a local artist to kind of give us a nice background, nice Indigenous paintings for our Indigenous services. Our firm works with Indigenous communities across Canada, so this artwork is being used across Canada by our firm when we do PowerPoints and stuff. And it's a local artist from James Smith Cree Nation. So this presentation is just various information from your audited financial statements. This isn't the full set of financial statements. If you do want to ever see those, they are online on ISK's website, or you can go to the band office. I'm going to try and make this a little bit more graphic, visual. I've got some slides that kind of show you how the numbers are moving, but the numbers are also there to see. But just to show you the trends, are we able to pay our bills? Do we have enough money to continue? What kind of debt are we in? Just to highlight those key financial indicators for you. So if you, as I mentioned, if you want to see the full set of statements, they are available as well. So when we do an audit, we want to make sure the numbers, the information in there is accurate so you can make decisions. So we go through the audit, we do various testing, we look at various transactions, but we want to make sure when you go as members or the funders, they look at your financial statements, they want to say, okay, these numbers are accurate, we can actually rely on this information to make decisions. Audit doesn't say if you're on a big deficit, you still could have a clean audit. It's just saying that is the right number, that is the deficit, or that is the actual surplus. So we're saying that the numbers are correct. That's the key of what an audit is doing. It's not giving an opinion on your financial position. It's telling you that you can rely on the numbers in your financial statements. So for this year, and for many of the past years, Montreal Lake has had an unqualified opinion. So that means no qualifications. This is a good thing. That means that, because sometimes we'll have an audit, everything's good, but something in there may be not quite right, or something like that. But we don't have that in this case. You can rely on the statements to make decisions on how well it's performing. Did they spend the money how you would have spent the money? Those kind of things. So When I'm talking about most of the numbers, this is the consolidated audit, so this is pretty much everything that's encompassed under Montreal Lake. So this is going to be the Montreal Lake Reserve, Little Red Reserve, the 2 different health centers, your CMHC program, Little Red Community Store, the Detox Center, Urban Services, all that is controlled by council and is included. We also have a couple business, they get treated a little different. We just show their profits like investments, so you've got a value in the investment and the profits. So Montreal Lake Business Ventures is also included in these statements, and then a small interest in L'Orange Weldon Rice. What's not included are things that council doesn't quite have control over. So in this case right now, Montreal Child and Family Services Agency has a separate board. Council does have a little bit of say, but ultimately the board has power. Some of that may change depending how you guys go through some of the Bill C-91 or 92 process. And then PAGC, they are not consolidated in, just the revenues that come from them. So the first statement that you get in your financial statements is your statement of financial position. Sometimes you've heard people call this the balance sheet. This pretty much says what do you own and what do you owe. So what do you own is your assets. So things like cash, accounts receivable, which is when money is owed to you, investments, so you own a piece of a business, you've got investments, and then what do you owe? Well, you have bills to pay, so accounts payable. So someone's already sold you something, but you gotta pay them yet. So those are accounts payable, long-term debt, take some loans from the bank, you've got that type of debt. So this is a summary of all the things that you own and owe. I'm just gonna provide a couple visuals on the key metrics for this statement. So if you look at these graphs I have, it will tie back to that statement. So the first thing I always like to look at is your short-term health, or sometimes known as working capital. This is, are we likely able to pay our bills? So we look at your current assets, so cash, accounts receivable, things that you're gonna have turned to cash in the next few months, next 6 months, and then what do you owe in the next year? So if you owe a loan over the next 10 years, we're not gonna include that. This is just, what money do we have now and what do we have to pay in the immediate future? When we have a difference here is the working capital. So when we look at this graph here, there's a green line at the top, that's what you have for current assets, and then you can see an orange line, that's what you owe. So they're pretty much on the same trend the last 2 years. So that pretty much means what you have for cash and receivables, you have committed to payables. So essentially the boundary now is running at a break-even type position. So that means that they owe as much as they have, so at least they can pay their bills, but there is no really extra or surplus of funds there. You go back to 2022, you can see the green line was way above, so that meant at that time they had a few $1 million extra. COVID was there was some savings on programs, a little less bills going on as we kind of came out of COVID. Another financial indicator I like to look at in the statements is, do you have net financial assets? So do you have more assets than liabilities, or do you have net debt? So total financial assets is anything that you own, so those investments, everything long-term that you can eventually sell. Total liabilities is everything you have to pay to others, so to the bank, to your suppliers, and then the difference between the two. So if you have positive, then you have excess, essentially you have a surplus in cash. You can spend past your revenues in the future because you've got extra money. If you have a negative, now you have to take revenues that you're getting or money that's coming in the future to pay back your old bills. And you might think this is weird, that's an exact coincidence as the working capital, but it's just how they're actually operating is essentially they're running at essentially a break even. So what you guys have in assets is essentially what you owe in liabilities, in financial assets. So the nation is pretty much running what comes in, what goes out. So they're not saving anything, but they're also not running any kind of deficit, putting you in future deficits or future challenges. The other thing from your balance sheet that I like to look at is your ability to replace your future infrastructure. So the housing on reserve, so a lot of this is on reserve stuff, the housing, the lagoons, the schools, the health center, all the buildings, all the infrastructure there. So the top line is your capital assets. The green line here is your capital debt. So if you're, in this case, if the green line was up here, the amount that you own would go down. So you want to see that line trending up, and I've seen it trending down in places. So when it does trend down, that means your infrastructure is depleting faster than you're replacing it. So in this case, Montreal Lake is increasing their assets and infrastructure more than it's going down in value. So that's a positive thing there. And then the last number, when you looked at the very bottom of the financial statements, you would have seen accumulated surplus, and you would have seen a big $60 million number. You're like, we have a $60 million surplus. Some of that's a bit misleading, or depending on how you look at it, you got to look at the notes. And the big thing here is you've got a $49 million surplus in capital assets. So you get a lot of your capital assets funded, you've got those assets there, but you don't have the cash. So you've got a school that's going to provide you services for 25 years now. Well, not now, so you didn't get a new school. You got a new lagoon that's going to provide you services for a certain amount of time. You got certain houses that'll last, that are new. So you've got essentially cash poor, asset rich. I wouldn't say asset rich because there still could be way more infrastructure, but you have some value in your assets, yeah. And then you have some value in your investments with Montreal Lake Business Ventures, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So that was what you own and what you owe. So then you go to the next page, usually in your financial statements, and it's your statement of operations, or sometimes known as an income statement. The two numbers on here are revenues and expenses. So revenues, it's essentially money coming in. That's the source of your cash coming in. Expenses is to pay all the bills, all the different expenses that you incur. So you can see here, last year they had $64 million in revenue, but just over $56 million in expenses. Some of that was, the surplus was into your assets because there was quite a few capital projects. So where is the revenue trending? So the budget from Montreal Lake, you can see, was in 2020 was around $34 million. They're now running over $60 million budget. So like them, hate them, Justin Trudeau has increased your revenues for the last few years as this funding has significantly increased. As you can see, the big increase is the federal government funding there, the green line. So your revenue, this is just kind of a pie chart. Where does it all come from? You can see 81% of your revenue is from ISK. And then the next, then there's a bunch of others is the next big piece. So you've got majority of your funding is still from the federal government. So how are you spending the money? So I'm going to show this in two different ways. First, I'm going to show it by segment or by program. So this is kind of, you got your money, you got your budget, how are we going to split up the pie? You can see the top, and it'll go, if we go here around like this, it'll go in the same order as this. So the top one is $5 million for administration. You spend $11.2 million on social development. 9.4 gets allocated to health, 3.2 to post-secondary, 9.1 to education, 4.4 to your infrastructure, $3.5 million to housing, and you guys can continue on. And social support services, the other big one there of $6 million. And then this is just a summary of the expenses by object. I'll have a pie chart again for this. So this is your expenses essentially by object or type. You can see the biggest one is your salaries and benefits, $15 million in salaries and benefits, $13 million on assistance, So that's pretty much half of your spending is those two, is your salaries to run the program as well as assistance that you provide to members. And then you can see the other ones as you go around to the left. Okay, I do have a few more slides on Montreal Lake Business Ventures, but I'm actually going to stop there for any questions because this was kind of more on the nation part, and I'll give a little bit, couple slides on Montreal Lake Business Ventures. Any questions? Okay, I'll give you another chance at the end. Everyone's quiet. So some key financial information on Montreal Lake Business Ventures. So what's included here is the store out at Montreal Lake, as well as one of the forestry products they've got included in there. You can see their statement of financial position balance sheet is a very strong balance sheet. Essentially, they own a bunch of investments, they have some cash on hand, and they have very few bills to pay. They only have $255,000 in liabilities compared to their $5 million in current assets. So when we looked at this for the band, remember our working capital, this orange line was essentially at zero. For them, it's very positive. Their working capital has a $4 million surplus, so they have money available to provide distributions to the nation or make further investments. Here's a summary of some of the investments that they own. In the very right-hand column, you can see what those investments are currently worth, how much they've increased, how much they own in each of those investments. Those are the biggest one is Blue Moose Clothing Company, which is Manitoba Muckalux. You have a $3.5 million investment in that. And then there's also one in Prince Albert Business Development LP, which is worth about $2 million. Revenue, so Montreal Lake Business Ventures, they get their revenue from the store, as well as forestry operations, and investment income are their big three sources. Here's their summary, their income statement, so you can see their various sales, cost of sales, and then some of their other revenues like forestry contracts and grants. So for them, their revenues, they had one big increase in 2021. The value went way up on Manitoba Muckalux that year. But otherwise, you can see if we normalize it, it's slowly trending up each year. So it's not been too much of a up and down for the most part. It's just a slow growth of revenue each year. This slide, I'll touch on it quickly. This is more for when I'm on reserve. It provides a little information on, for every dollar you spend at the store out there, how much goes to cost of sales, which is for them to buy the fuel, buy the product. Then you can see how much goes to wages, how much of a rebate they get, the 8.5% rebate, 8.5 cents for every dollar they spend, they get back in the rebate. And then the store keeps 8.4 cents for every dollar spent for reinvesting in the store. And then this slide's just a summary of the different operating segments. You can see the big one is the retail sales there. They had a profit of $618. Then there's other, which is your investments, had a profit of $973. Then there's some of the investment income is just internal, so that's been eliminated. How do they spend their money is listed here. You can see their biggest expense is salary, wages, and benefits. So I know I went through that quick. If there's anything anyone wants to go back to, question? Yeah.
I guess for the folks in Saskatoon, Jason, can you just maybe just give an explanation on your opinion, qualified, unqualified, just so they know what it means?
Yeah, so I touched on this at the beginning here, unqualified, qualified, let's go way back to the beginning. Okay, so yeah, just to summary a little bit what an audit is. So First Nation hires an independent firm or independent of Montreal Lake to look at your financial statements, review your financial statements, give an opinion. Can you rely on those statements? The same thing happens with big public companies. Google has to have an auditor come in, they look at it. Can you rely on their financial statements? Banks would have the same thing. So in the end, typically there's a few different types of opinion. Denial of opinion means we're not going to give opinion. Everything is just, your numbers are so bad you can't rely on it. Sometimes we'll have a qualified opinion. That means everything's good, but a qualification qualifies something's not quite right. Or unqualified, which is a good thing. No qualifications, you can rely on everything. And in this case, for Montreal Lake, all the information's there. It's an unqualified opinion, so that means they've got the proper controls in place, they're keeping good records, that we can give the opinion that the numbers are correct. Yeah.
So with that, I just want to let the folks in Saskatoon know that prior to my time in leadership, we really didn't see unqualified audits, and with this administration, even prior to me coming on, they presented unqualified audits. So with that, I just want to ask the folks to give the administration a big round of applause. It's a really good thing to do, opening a lot of doors for Montreal. Thank you. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jeff. Anyone else? All right, you guys are an easy crowd tonight. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jason. I think the chief wants to make sure that, yeah, I just want to reiterate what Jeff said, that it's kind of misleading because of the language that it's used. It says an unqualified audit. An unqualified audit is actually a good thing. If it was qualified, that means we're doing something wrong. Unqualified means we're doing something right, so I just wanted to make that point. So, just to supplement a little bit, I'm just going to go on, before we call on our next speaker here, a couple of weeks ago, we, just give me a second, I'll go to my email here. This is a Montreal Lake Cree Nation bus that we have. We applied for a grant. As a matter of fact, the grant was applied for 4 years ago. This bus was delivered to Montreal Lake 3 weeks ago, January the 7th. We have the brand new bus. We still have to put the Montreal Lake Cree Nation logo on there. So this bus is actually sitting in Prince Albert. A good thing that the leadership decided to do, and I'll tell you a quick story. BBCN bought a bus exactly like this 2 years ago. and it's been sitting in Prince Albert for 2 years. We bought this bus through a grant. Montreal Lake has signed a lease, and this bus is going to be used by PA Northern Bus Lines. They're paying us to lease this bus for their trips. So we're making money, but we also made a deal with them that if Montreal Lake decides to say they want to take elders or a youth on a trip, we have to let PA Northern Bus Lines know, saying we're going to go to elders trip or a hockey game or something like that. We give them a little bit of notice, and then they'll say, come and get your bus and you guys go on your trip. So this is a Montreal Lake Cree Nation bus, and the logo is going to be put on there. There's another picture of the bus. And there's all the leadership standing in front of the bus. It was delivered to Saskatoon at the gas station here just north by the airport. And it had to be delivered to the reserve to save taxes. So thanks to the leadership, there's a brand new bus that belongs to the nation. Big hand to the leadership. It took a while to get this bus. It's been 4 years, but we'll go on to our presentation here. Our next presenter is none other than CEO Gary Daniels, Montreal Lake Business Ventures. Gary?
Before we move on to Gary, I just want to make a comment in regards to MLC and Urban Services Inc. At some point we want to do a presentation on our audit for Urban Services Inc. as well. So that's going to be coming at some point. I think at some point we're going to be also providing separate AGMs just for our membership to your off reserve, just so we can present the finances in regards to what we're doing in the urban sector. Thank you.
Thank you, and good afternoon, good evening, everybody. The light's bright. As I mentioned, my name is Gary Daniels, and I'm the CEO for Montreal Lake Business Ventures. Does this one work? Oh, this one work. Okay. Yeah, every year they get me to come and do a little segment on an update what's going on with the business ventures. So I'll just read through my report. I didn't know we were supposed to do a full report, but I'll go like this anyway. Some of the things we're dealing on, and first of all, I'd just like to acknowledge my board. My chair is Nolan Henderson, vice chair is Irma Murdoch, Vern Bash, who's one of the board of directors, Eldon Henderson is the secretary, and I didn't recognize him, he wasn't wearing an Oilers hat today, so. Roger Bird is also a board of directors. Chief Joyce sits on the board of directors as well. Charmaine Ermine, Councillor Charmaine, she's on the board of directors. And a new board of director we have is Jeff Badger. His first meeting will be in February. And to round it out, we have Borden Wasiluk, who's an old banker, probably 30 years as a banker, and he lives out at Candle Lake. Okay, some of the things we're dealing with, I'm working on along with the board. The OSB mill, and I know we have Eldon sits on the board there, but we still work with a lot of stuff together. Hoping construction will commence late spring, should take about 2 years to build. It's a $550 million project. For just the construction, it should be about 150 employees. Once it's fully open, we should have anywhere from 650 to 750 employees. And this will go on where the pulp mill is now. There's a lot of land. They bought a lot there, and that's where they're going to put the building up. So once, it should take about 2 years to fully construct it and get it working. So that's hopefully looking at maybe May or anytime after that for construction to start. But everything hinders around. I don't know if you guys heard President Donald Trump and his tariffs. So February 1st, we'll find out if that scares a lot of investors away or if it hurts us or helps us or what. So maybe Jason can weigh in on that. He just said he's a Trump supporter. He doesn't want to say it. So some of the other things we're working on is Kakawistahau. They just mentioned that's where the bus was dropped off and they delivered it there. We're working with them. They'd like to do some partnerships, and they're looking at business acquisitions, a medical clinic and a wellness center at that new land where the FSIN building sits on, a hotel, conference center, RTM manufacturing, lumberyard partnership with MLBV and SIIT, and commercial land development opportunities in Prince Albert. They'd like to team up on some of that stuff too. They own a construction company called Timiska Partner Opportunities, so they're looking for us to maybe join with them. And they're also looking at doing an air charter service flight school, but that one might be a little off the radar, but they threw it out there anyway. And stuff like this, website site redesign was completed by 2Web out of Saskatoon. And how you can check us out is montrealbusinessventures.com or anitau.com. And you can go on there and check it out and see if you like it or not. But we updated everything on there, and it's looking pretty good. The Saskatchewan government, again, this year, we have to apply for a grant, and they give us a grant, and it's roughly about $400,000. So we get it in 2 installments, usually in December and in June. So we got our first payment here, so that's good with that. Manitoba mucklucks. Manitoba mucklucks, we own, I think it's roughly 6.4% of that. And like they said, the value that showed on the statements there was roughly about 3.4 million. So with that, they've had a real tough, probably 4 months. Just in December, now the numbers have jumped up, but it's not only Manitoba muckluck, it's all the other big shoe manufacturers that are going through this whole lull right now in the market. So they're hoping they can get through that and then make it through there with a little better numbers for the spring. So 6.4% ownership we own of Manitoba muckluck, so that's pretty good. Sagawa Ski, they do everything for the Prince Albert Forest Model Association. So we're part of that, and we're just one of the members, so we just sit on there, and so they oversee not oversee, but they're kind of our, the voice for all the forestry community in northern Saskatchewan. We also met with SIT and Sask Polytechnic, and what we're looking for is setting up training for members, both on reserve and urban members, for once the mill actually starts, to get people in construction side and then on the trade sides when the mill opens. So we're working with them to try to get training for people, like I said, on reserve, off reserve. So keep an eye out for that, because we'll be posting stuff even on the website and everything like that. Kitsaki, they purchased a software called Play-Doh, and Kitsaki has asked us to partner with them. So we're still assessing that. We got a bunch of other things on the go right now, and this is one of the lower hanging fruit. So maybe in the new year we'll be looking more at that. So it's a software testing and technology service provider, and looking to sell shares of the company and other opportunities. So you can Google Play-Doh and it'll give you a little more information on that. Some of the dividends we got this year were NRT gave us a dividend of $45,000. Manitoba muckluck through Sean McCormick, because Manitoba muckluck was sold from a group out of Winnipeg to a group out of Los Angeles, California. But through that sale, they didn't quite sell everything. So Sean McCormick gave us a dividend of roughly $18,605. Manitoba muckluck gave us that. And then Sean McCormick gave us a dividend of $20,000. So through all of this, we're partners in a couple of plants in Vietnam. So that's how that all worked out, and that's where some of the parts of the shoes are made, is in Vietnam. So you can see where this is going. We own a company that's based out of Los Angeles, and we have a plant that's in Vietnam, so we're very worldwide out here. One of the other things we're working on is, I don't know if you guys know a guy named Mervyn Morgan, used to be my supervisor out at the Dakota Dunes. He's working on a whole security setup for us, so once the OSB mill goes, or anything we have that needs security, that'll be our team, and Mervyn will kind of help us get set up, and then we'll have a whole security department and go from there. So, SaskTel, I'm not sure if you guys know that Wi-Fi, or what do you call it? Wi-Fi is coming to every community every house in the community in Montreal Lake in the next year or two. So we're dealing with SaskTel to get on the construction side of everything, joining up with different partners for all the construction sides. So we've got a bunch of contacts, and we're just trying to find people to join up with and make an LP, and then go from there and get some of the money out of the work that's going to be done on the reserve and around the reserve. I know Little Red already is going through it. It's called fiber, I guess, putting fiber into every home. L'Orange Wild Rice, that was mentioned. We owned 5 shares, and the BCR was done, so I guess I'm sitting on the board now. Jason had a little hand on that, so we haven't had too many meetings, so see what happens with that. Nitao Store, Roger Bird is currently the interim GM, and he'll be there till August 15th of 2025. We have Sheila Bear and Francis Beattie as the supervisors that are right under him. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware, we didn't renew the old manager, Gita Smith. It was about April. The board decided not to renew her contract, so we started going a different way. We had Sheila and Nikita overseeing it. Now we have Roger that's kind of overseeing it. So it's been a little bit of a transition, but Roger seems to have control of everything. So we're working on that. We've updated our HR manual, policies for OHS, labor laws, and a wide array of updated policies. So keep working on that area and keep going ahead. Another one is a Rogers update. Rogers media, I guess they're not media, but they want to put a tower up on the reserve. So the chief had asked me to kind of negotiate something. I've negotiated, they've sent something, so I have to meet with the chief and council to make sure it get approved. But once we get to that step, then we'll have a community meeting, and they'll go over exactly where they want to put the tower, and then everybody will have a say on if they want it or if they don't, or where they want it, and everything like that. So this is just this first process, and then we'll go from there. And I know Councillor Troy was involved a little bit with them too, so he's been in contact with them. Another group the chief asked me to meet is Hillcore Group of Companies, and they are a company out of Edmonton, Vancouver, and Calgary, and they have various groups and portfolio companies, and they employ more than 7,500 employees. So what they've done is they have a guy, he's from George Gordon, his name is Trent Blind, he's the managing director. And to see if there's any way we can get in right now, Ermineskin Band out of the Hobbema area, they have 3 businesses in Edmonton all through this Mr. Blind, so that's what we're looking at, and they seem to be doing very good. So just been waiting to meet up to him with for a second time, so see how that goes. Another thing the chief asked me to look into is Elk Ridge is for sale again. I just heard 2 days ago that what they're asking for is roughly $20 million for the golf course, hotel, and some of the condos, and it would be the lease on the land. It wouldn't be owning the land, I believe. So that we're looking into. But it seems like a hefty price tag. They were sold 3 years ago, and now the new owners are trying to sell it again. So, but we'll do a little more legwork on that and see if it's even viable. First Nations Bank has roughly 13% of their shares for purchase. Some of the board members asked me to explore that. Each share is worth about $778,000. So still looking into it and seeing if there's anything we can do with that. But they only sell it a share per. The lowest you can go is 1 share. So we'd be looking at roughly $778,000. They fluctuate daily, but that's roughly about what they're worth. Ambulance update. Onion Lake has an ambulance on the reserve and they're trying to set something up with Albert Jimmy. I spoke to him once, so I'm supposed to go over there and see him again. But the big issue they have is the ambulance associations that are around Montreal Lake, just like Onion Lake. They had a heck of a time trying to get all those guys to buy in. So we'll probably go through the same thing with that, and then so it could be a long road ahead. But we're trying to get ambulances in Montreal Lake and Little Red. Apitow House update, legal implications with co-op or UFA setting up on leased crown land. So still looking into that, but I heard just the other day that the band is now looking into that. So I'll talk to Chief and Council and see if they want me to step back on that. Another thing that came up is the Belle Plaine Refinery, and it's the Eagle Ridge Energy Limited. This company intends to construct an industry-leading clean fuels refinery in Belle Plaine, Sask, which is just west of Moose Jaw. The refinery will produce 30,000 barrels per day of processed light sweet crude, sourced primarily from the Bakken Viking formations. Bakken is towards Estevan, Viking is towards the Alberta border. So this is a huge investment. Again, it's roughly 427 US million. So this is something I'm just looking into because Saskatchewan has they have a program where you can, just one second, what's the correct name again? Eldon? For the investment side. That we're looking into for OSB as well. No, from the government portion. It's a government loan program, and they'll give you a loan, and it's more like a grant. So then they work with First Nations. So, and they've been doing a lot of this. There's been 3 groups of 5 bands in Alberta that purchased part of 3 pipelines in Alberta. And they went through the same process, so now Saskatchewan has that same program, and that's what we're going to be trying to tap into. So that's how we're trying to get into some of these bigger things. TR Petroleum, I don't know if you guys know them. It's a gas station, but they do a lot of the delivering of the fuel all over. They deliver from Montreal Lake, Little Red, all over. So they're looking to sell either half or a little more, and Travis Gould is the owner. We're just waiting on the valuation of the company to see how we can do something like that. But like I said, they have a wide area they serve, and they got a lot of trucks, and their Travis Gould is originally out of Big River, and his office is out of Saskatoon here. We're also looking at some gas stations, and you guys might know where they are, but I can't really say them because we signed NDAs and non-disclosure agreements. So there's a couple gas stations around your areas that are up for sale right now, so we're kind of looking at them and kicking the tires on them and see if there's anything we can do on them, because once you get something like that, you can turn them into reserve status and then go from there. It opens the doors for a lot of different things. So, Radium Technologies, I met with them. They're out of Calgary. They're currently working the Rocanville potash mine, and they do above ground construction at mines. So what we're looking to do is partner up with them because they're trying to get into a lot of different mines, and they're also trying to get into uranium as well. So all construction, but it would be a great partner to have, and if we build the OSB, they'd be part of that too. Some of the things we've accomplished in the last year, our investment policy we completed in April of 2024. And our strategic plan, same month, we did it again, we finished, updated the strategic plan. Also, we own, or not own, we're given by the province, 200,000 cubic meters of softwood. So there's 2 years left on our negotiations, well, to open up negotiations with Carrier Lumber out of BC. So roughly about 18 months out, you start negotiating. So that's where we're going, is we'll start negotiating in probably another 6 months. Go from there and see what happens. And we have 40,000 of hardwood, but that's locked in for the next 5 years already. So the big one is Carrier Lumber with the softwood, and we'll see how that all plays out. And once again, that too is impacted by President Trump and his tariffs, because they're trying to put 25% tariffs on all lumber products coming in from Canada into the US. And right now, like all the of our 200,000 cubic meters, 85% of that goes into the States. So would be a heavy tariff on the guys that run the logs for us right now. And that's all I have. Any questions? Sorry I didn't have a presentation. Any questions? Elton usually has a question, even though he knows everything. Yeah, go ahead. Yep, I agree. Just the price tag seems a little.
I just went and stayed there a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
It's all run by like foreigners, and I asked, well, I don't know why my wife said it. Well, ask if you get a discount because you're from Montreal. So I went and asked them, they just laughed at me pretty much. So then I got mad and I was like, you guys should be giving us all a discount because you're on our ancestral land.
Yeah.
And then they shut up.
I agree, and we had a couple of people that came out to the reserve, and I met them there. They stayed out at Elk Ridge, and there was only maybe 8 people there staying there, so they're really hurting for business right now. So it's something we'll look into, but that price tag I think would have to come down quite a bit. Yep.
Have you had any discussions with FN Kayaks here in Saskatoon?
Who?
FN Kayaks, First Nations Capital and Infrastructure Agency of Saskatchewan?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
No.
Go on their website.
Okay.
They're supposed to have money for us. They should have money for
Okay.
all bands in Saskatchewan.
That's what we're doing, is looking to tap in anywhere we can, but yeah.
Have you heard of them?
I've heard of them, yes, just never approached them yet. Yeah.
But you should look into that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of revenue we can tap into.
Okay.
For infrastructure and housing, because I heard there's a lot of need for housing on the reserve.
Okay. So housing director, you're listening? Okay. Anything else? Oh, we also did, Kimberly, when were we gonna do the draws? Okay, do one draw. We donated $1,000 and we bought fish derby tickets, so we'll do one draw now. If you win it and you're not into fishing, you can sell it. I'm sure they're a pretty hot commodity right now. So check your tickets, eyes down. Sure, whatever you want. Sure. I guess we're gonna do a mug first, so don't get excited. It's a mug, a big one, yeah. You'll be hitting the bathroom every 20 minutes with the. So it's 5823257. 5823257, blue ticket. Oh, we're in the back. Yep. And when do you want to do that? All right. Okay, we'll do one ticket for the fish derby now. Okay, eyes down. 5823286. 5823286, and this is for a ticket for the fish derby, and they're about $150. There you go. Okay, congratulations. And where did they go pick it up? In the back, the lady waving there. Waving like she just don't care. Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? Chief, you got a question? Thank you. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much, Gary. Big hand for Gary Daniel, CEO for Montreal Lake Business Ventures. On the agenda, if you see the agenda on the screen, we have Montreal Lake Child and Family Agency. They're not able to make it, but I do have a report. I will just put it on the screen. But this report that I'm going to read is Montreal Lake. It's not the Child and Family Agency. The band also has our own worker for Child and Family. Her name is Dorothy Nelson. She just started about 6 months ago, and she sent me a report, so I'll do Dorothy's report for her. Dorothy's very busy. She's traveling right now, and she was hoping that she might be able to make it for the Montreal Lake Community Assembly on Thursday, but Dorothy's traveling right now, so just bear with me. I'll just put it on the screen, and I'll do Dorothy's report. So this is Dorothy Nelson's report. First Nations Band Representative Services. She started with us a few months ago. That's it. My name is Dorothy Nelson, Band Representative Services for Montreal Lake Cree Nation. I'm based out of the MLCN Urban Office in Prince Albert. It's an honor and a privilege to serve the Montreal Lake members, advocating for families in northern communities and also for urban members. This is my annual report, 6 months since I was hired, and my roles and responsibilities as a First Nations rep. First Nations Representative Services supports First Nations to have a voice when children, youth, families are involved at risk of involvement with child and family services. First Nations Representative Services serve as a main contact between First Nations and Child and Family Services, support their assertion of the rights and responsibilities for First Nations applicable Child and Family Services laws, ensure that Child and Family Services providers address the real needs of First Nations children, youth, and families, including needs tied to culture, land, effect of a historical and contemporary disadvantage, build and maintain meaningful cultural, family, and community connections for children, facilitate repatriation and reunification of children and youth in care with their families and First Nations, may intervene in child protection proceedings before a provincial court. So the reason why Dorothy is traveling is because she goes to court, as you'll see in the report here. She's been to court in Prince Albert, Saskatoon, and Regina. First Nations Forum. She's attended a forum in Saskatoon. She's also in a working group, C92 working group. In September 4th, Regina Yorkton Tribal Council tour, Cody First Nations, the Key First Nations, Kisakus First Nations, Sagim Anishinabek First Nation, Kakawistawao First Nation, Ocean Man First Nation. So these are the places that Dorothy has been visiting and just getting information on their child and family services. She also attended Zoom meetings on September 8th for the BC First Nations Chiefs meeting on long-term reform. Again, she attended court in Prince Albert, Saskatoon, Regina, and she continues to go to court. A lot of her work is helping families navigate through the court system with their children. When she talked to me this morning, she was heading out, and she says, I have to attend court tomorrow morning, so I think she's driving, she went to Regina this morning. Attending court Mondays in PA, Tuesdays in Saskatoon, Wednesdays is usually in Regina, and then also representing First Nations via Zoom. So that was Dorothy's report. Some of the challenges that she faces, she said some members may be frustrated by the process and obstacles faced by the Ministry of Social Services. First Nations reps are coming together to discuss both the obstacles and successes in our roles as First Nations representatives in a powerful way to foster growth and better serve our children and families. By sharing and learning from one another, we can practice lateral kindness and create a space where mutual support becomes the foundation of our collective progress. Ultimately, this collaboration benefits the very heart of our work, our children, and our families. This is certainly a need to clarify and strengthen roles, whether as First Nations representatives, social workers, or staff in delegated or provincial agencies. In my experience, one of the greatest challenges lies in the lack of consistent information sharing and variability in practices across the province. Some agencies are collaborative and kind, while others can be far more challenging to work with. It highlights the urgent needs for cross-provincial training, transparent communication, and capacity building within all systems. Additionally, our work must remain rooted in the foundation rights of Indigenous children and families, as articulated in Bill C-92, United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People, and the recognition of treaty rights. These guiding frameworks emphasize the importance of respecting the rights of Indigenous children to remain connected to their culture, their language, and their community. As we navigate these systems, we must continue to advocate for the rights and challenge the barriers that hinder this realization. I believe that these conversations can help us identify solutions, share best practices, and ensure one is left recreating the wheel. By doing so, we collectively build a stronger foundation for the future. I look forward to participating in these discussions and working together meaningful change. Ego said, Tinigate Dorothy Nelson. Give her a big hand, she's a very busy lady. I will attempt to answer any questions, but if not, if you have a question for Dorothy, we can take these questions and then we can provide answers later on through email if anybody has any questions for Dorothy. If not, I guess I did see our lawyer, and it's 6, oh there she is, and it's 6 o'clock, we're right on schedule. So I'm going to ask our lawyer for Montreal Lake Cree Nation, Don Cheecham, to come and give us a short update on our agricultural claims for Montreal Lake Cree Nation. Don?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who are unfamiliar with who I am, my name is Dawn Cheecham, and I've been the band's legal counsel since around 2017. And as per usual, you know, I usually come out to the assemblies and give a brief update on the claims work that the band has been working on. So what I'm proposing to do is follow a PowerPoint that I pre-prepared. I just went and did a check, and I don't see that it was copied for you, but I'm sure we can arrange that if you absolutely require a copy after today. Who has control? Okay, yeah, thank you. So what I'm proposing tonight is that I go over some of the band's active claims. I'm going to start off with the band's agricultural benefits claim. So for a lot of folks in the room, you may have heard the term cows and plows, right? So that's the agricultural benefits claim. So I have a brief update on that for you. I'm also going to speak a little bit about the timber claim. Another claim called the Treaty 6 annuities claim. And then we're also working on a claim called the 106 timber surrender. So that's, you know, one of the works in progress that we're working on right now, and we're wondering if it's anything similar to the Little Red timber claim. So I want to speak briefly on that, as well as another one we're working on called the bombing range claim. So because you have a lot of agenda items, your leadership went back and forth in terms of whether I should come here tonight and give a more substantial update on cows and plows. But because you have a lot of agenda items, because we're kind of early in the process, your chief and council thought it would be more appropriate if we had a standalone meeting just on cows and plows. And so that is the intention. Probably within the next month, we're going to book some meetings with the membership to talk specifically about that claim. It's such a significant claim for the nation. There's lots of moving parts to it. It's considered one of your more substantial claims. We need input from the membership, and so that's why we're going to be dealing with that claim separately. And so I hope that folks weren't coming here this evening thinking I was going to have, you know, a large update for you, but we're going to be saving that for a little later. So as per usual, I was thinking I would go through each segment, and then, you know, if there were questions, we would deal with them at that time, or you can save them all for the end of my presentation. So on cows and plows, back in November as well as December, we had released two major updates. And these were letter updates that you may have received either on social media or via the band's app. So how many in the room did not see those updates? If you could just, okay. So I will, for your benefit, I mean, it sounds like most people received that update, but for those who haven't seen it, I'm just gonna recap a little bit about what was contained in those letters. And so at that time, in early December in particular, we received a major response from Canada in terms of, you know, an update on our claim. And so in previous assemblies, I had reported that there was a specific process that Canada follows whenever a claim is filed. You start with the research, and then Canada goes through their own checks and balances, they do their own research, and then they determine whether your claim is considered valid. And then at that time, if it's considered valid, they send out an offer to negotiate a settlement. And so that's generally how it works. And we went through the research phase, we went through the waiting game in terms of waiting for Canada's response, and we finally got that in December. So Canada now considers your cows and plows claim to be valid, and they've offered to negotiate a settlement with the nation. The nation opted into that process by way of a band council resolution. They also signed a negotiation protocol agreement, which kind of sets out the rules by each party in terms of what's expected of each party in these negotiations. It covers things like confidentiality. So that was the major update from Canada back in December. But even before that, the nation was gearing up in contemplation of receiving that letter. And so there was a number of things that we had worked on waiting for that letter to come in from Canada. And the first thing is that a committee was appointed. So this committee is called the Agricultural Benefits Planning Committee. And this committee is tasked with, doing certain work in relation to the claim. One of the things that they had to do was interview potential trustees that would handle the settlement monies when they came in. That was a very significant, that's a very significant role in these claims. So your committee kind of went through that process and made a recommendation to your chief and council to appoint FNB Trust as your trustee for this claim. The other major thing that happened is a lead negotiator was appointed for this claim. It's a familiar face, familiar name, Irma Murdoch. She was the band's, she's a band member of Montreal Lake, of course. She was your band manager for a time. And she has significant negotiation experience in addition to, all of the other things that she's very capable of. And so she was appointed by your chief and council as lead negotiator for this claim. So since FNB Trust was appointed as the band's trustee, we have started some of those initial meetings with them. So what we have to do now is we have to get ready. Like, we're expecting a major settlement to come in, right? Right now, we're still negotiating. We don't know exactly what Canada's offering to us yet, but there's a lot of work we need to do in the background to get ready for this, right? And so one of the things is we're gonna have to draft a trust agreement. And the trust agreement is going to spell out all of the rules pertaining to, how the settlement monies can be used, whether they're going to be invested, whether they're going to be used for specific purposes, how much each member will get. It's a very, very important document. And so we had started, when I say we, I mean, myself, FNB Trust, the lead negotiator, the negotiating team, which consists of the chief and council, as well as the band manager, and the settlement planning committee. So we started some of that initial legwork, and we had 2 major meetings just to start some of that, that process. So because of the, the Christmas holidays, band office being closed, people being on leave, including, Canada's team, we weren't able to secure a first negotiating session with Canada yet. But we heard from them in 2 different significant ways. The first being they've appointed their team, and so we know who their negotiator is. We know who their assistant negotiator is. We know who their legal counsel is. And, you know, no sooner than I was on my way over to this meeting, we received another significant email from Canada. So they've started the process of sharing important information with the nation regarding how they propose to go about these negotiations. So these aren't going to be your usual negotiations. These are going to be what we call accelerated negotiations. And so the process, instead of taking 1 to 2 years to negotiate, this could take as little as 3 to 6 months before we actually go into a vote. Now, of course, I'm going to mention, because I have to, that, you know, there's some issues right now within Parliament. Things have kind of slowed down. We don't really have a Prime Minister per se right now, right? We're kind of limping along until a new Prime Minister is appointed, and then we're very likely going into a federal election. And so we don't know what that's going to mean for us. It may cause some delays in the process, we're not sure. But we're right now proceeding full force to try to get this settlement finished. And we're trying to do it before the next election. So just know that that is on our radar, and we're actively working on that. I also learned today from our lead negotiator, Irma Murdoch, that she had a telephone call with Canada's negotiator. His name is Eric Micketon. And Eric has expressed that, you know, Canada is working on trying to get us some numbers. So that's kind of the cause for some of these delays here. We need to know what this claim is valued at. Right now we can only guess. We know what other nations receive because it's been reported in the media. And so we're kind of ballparking it right now, what we think this claim is worth. But we need to hear it from Canada. We need to see it in writing. And probably within the next 2 weeks, we're looking at getting those numbers and getting our meeting with Canada. And so the intention is, as soon as we get that information, as soon as we gather it and analyze it, we're going to share it with you. Alongside that, I mentioned that we're working on this trust agreement. So when we actually go to a vote on this, we're going to be voting on 2 separate documents, right? The first being the settlement agreement. And that's what we received from Canada, and it's going to go over all of the, you know, everything you need to know about what this settlement means for you. And alongside that, there's going to be this trust agreement that we're developing. And the intention is that every time something significant comes up, we're going to bring it to you. So a lot of you are probably wondering, well, what is this claim worth? What is it going to mean for me as an individual? What about my kids? Who qualifies? All of those things we're actively working on, and we're going to come directly to you for your input. So just keep looking, you know, on your app, on Facebook, or on the band's website, word of mouth, because we're going to be coming around and doing a lot of these consultative meetings with the membership in the near future. So I think I'll leave it at that. I mean, I did mention, you know, this is such a huge thing for your nation, right? It's not something to be taken lightly. There's major decisions to be made. We need to spend more significant time on this than an hour, right? We need to spend days discussing this, and we want to hear from you. And so I'm going to save any other update for those future meetings that I was talking about. Does anyone have any questions about this claim?
correspondence to the membership is via the app? Or how is that, or is that just in the meetings that you stated earlier?
No, so for those of you who are unaware, the band has developed its own app. It's a free app accessible to anybody who has a smartphone. You go and you download it. I can download it and I can see a lot of the content. That's where the nation posts their jobs and any community notices. There's a members only portal on there that we're going to be utilizing for anything that's considered confidential. So that's why you'll only see certain things on social media. The rest is going to be saved probably for the app, and we're going to look at other options down the road as well, like email. So part of this negotiation protocol that we signed with Canada obligates us to keep this information strictly within the nation. Although we can talk to any consultants that we hire for the claim, as well as any other First Nations that have gone through or are currently going through this process. There is a fellow at the back of the room, Alphonse Fonzie, he's at the back. If anybody is requiring assistance for that app, he'll gladly help you, help walk you through that process.
It'll just be then at the meetings that will be held in different
Well, we've been releasing correspondence, you know, and we've been releasing it on the app. Yeah. So I would strongly encourage you to download that app if you do have access to a smartphone. I think you can access it from a tablet as well. For those who don't have smartphones, I mean, there are other ways that we can get you that information. You just have to request it. Okay. So let's talk for a moment about the timber claim. So a few minutes ago, I was kind of talking about the specific claims process, right? We start off with that research, and then we file the claim and we wait for a response. So if we receive a positive response, that's when we enter into negotiations. But there will be times when we don't receive a positive response, and that's when the nation has a choice, right? You can then go full force and deal with the claim with a specific claims tribunal, or you could take it to court. There's different options, right? So with the timber claim, I mean, for those of you who are unfamiliar with this claim, it's a joint claim that was filed alongside L'Orange, and it has to do with the taking of timber and the selling of timber on your Little Red Reserve. So you probably are aware that at a certain time, Little Red was jointly owned by Montreal Lake and L'Orange. It was set aside for the benefit of both bands. And Canada, because of, you know, the rules stipulated in the Indian Act and their timber regulations, they were only allowed to remove timber from the reserve under certain circumstances. So what we have alleged and what we have proven is that Canada didn't follow their own laws when it came to the removal of timber. So they allowed companies to come in, remove timber, and they removed the wrong species of timber. They were underreporting how much they took. And so we had to do all that before the tribunal. So the tribunal is a lot like a court. It has a judge that makes a decision at the end of the day. And this claim has been split into different phases. And so the first phase is like that validation phase that I said we went through, and basically the tribunal agreed with us that this was a breach of your rights and a breach of Canada's own laws. And then we went through another phase, which was we had to determine just how much timber was taken, because there was a big discrepancy, right? We know from our neighbors over at Sturgeon Lake who went through the same process that these companies were coming in and they were essentially lying about how much timber was taken. We call that underreporting. So they were reporting a certain number to the Crown so that they wouldn't have to pay so many taxes and dues, right? And we successfully proved that that likely happened here. So now what is left is we have to figure out, well, what is it worth? So the nation, alongside L'Orange, we hired a couple expert economists that are currently working on a report that will help us determine what this claim is worth. So once we get that information back, we'll be in a better position to bring that to you to review it. But what's gonna happen next is just because our report says it's worth a certain amount, Canada's gonna do the same thing. They're gonna say, well, no, this is what it's worth. And there's gonna be yet another fight. So that is phase 3. Right now, the claim is kind of sitting in abeyance until Canada finishes their report. So in probably July, we have to all report back to the tribunal. And at that time, we'll know whether we're in a position to book a hearing for the final phase. So the claim is moving along nicely, a little slower than, of course, we anticipated, but it's moving nonetheless. Any questions about the timber claim? Just gonna grab a drink here. Okay, if there's no questions about that, we can move along to the treaty annuities claim. So how many of you are familiar with the annuities claim? I see no hands. Okay, so let me just back up and explain what this claim is all about. Right now, this claim is in the research phase, so this claim has not been filed. That research is taking, a little longer than anticipated, but we're told that, we have to do a couple more things before we actually get that research report. So with cows and plows, let's just, if I were to explain what this claim was about. So with cows and plows, Canada considers that to be a one-time benefit. That means when Montreal Lake first received its reserves and they showed an interest in cultivating all of the provisions in Treaty 6 that talked about agricultural benefits like the seeds, the hose, all of those implements, the cattle, those were supposed to be provided at that time. With annuities, it's kind of a little bit of a different creature. We're talking about things like the $5 everyone receives every year, 15 for counselors and 25 for the chief. We're talking about ammo and twine. And included in this category as well is the clothing allowance. I don't know how many of you are aware that when your leaders are elected, they're provided with a clothing allowance. So apparently at some point in the past, buckskin was not considered appropriate clothing, and your leaders were expected to purchase suits or something like that. And that's what that clothing allowance is for. That's not received annually. I think it's received every 3 years, but they kind of include it in this category of claim. We all know, for example, that $5 a year, I mean, it's embarrassing to think that that provides any of us with any purchasing power. I always say when I talk about this claim, you can't even take that $5 and buy something worth it at Dollarama. It's a joke. And so this claim is meant to tell Canada that the way they've been doing things is wrong, and they need to take into account inflation and the way things are really worth today. There are other nations and other treaty areas that have filed these types of claims. Right now, I am currently in negotiations with a Treaty 8 band on this very thing. And so there's debates going on about what that $5 is likely worth today. Some people say $100 and some dollars is what we should be seeing. Some people say well over $300. But Canada is actively negotiating this claim on a number of fronts. So they're saying, for instance, that they're going to compensate for not bringing that $5 up to today's dollars from the time your treaty was signed up until today. That's one component of it. The other component is they want to talk about how to calculate that annuity going into the future. Ammo and twine, I mean, you guys are aware that you guys had settled ammo and twine in recent years, but you didn't sign away that right to claim ammo and twine into the future. It's a perpetual right. It's supposed to continue forever, just like that $5 a year. And so we still have to negotiate about how we're going to calculate ammo and twine into the future. A few shotgun shells here and there is just not going to cut it. Or those fishing nets, right? There needs to be another way. So like I said, this is still in the research phase, but it's really exciting. It's an exciting claim. I've seen what these claims have settled for in other treaty areas, so there's a lot of potential for your band here. Any question about the annuities claim? Oh, yes. I mean, the details of those claims are kind of considered confidential, right? So if I speak on those claims, it's because it's all publicly accessible, but I know that there have been a couple bands that have settled recently, and I think they're saying for like 80 million each. The first part of that claim is a one-time thing, right? Compensating for the past is a one-time thing. But there's also, like I said, these are annuities, so they can't just say that's it. Right? They have to still give you those things forever. So how do we calculate that into the future? That's another part of the claim. We don't know what that's going to look like yet. Which, are you talking about a specific claim? Just in general? So when we file a specific claim, it has to be for a certain purpose. So Canada has rules about what you can file a claim about, and they're generally because they breached your treaty rights. And treaty rights are considered a collective right. So it doesn't belong, even though you each have treaty rights, an individual couldn't file that claim, right? It's meant to be for the benefit of the nation. So when you say, is it for capital reasons? I mean, no, not per se, but it can be. You can grow you can grow that money, right? And that's part of what our discussion is going to entail when we start talking about the trust agreement. Do we want to grow that money by investing it? You mean the annuities claim? The ammo and twine that's included there? Oh yeah, the past, the ammo and twine that was settled, those claims generally don't yield a lot of money. So I think, I've seen anywhere from $1 to $2 million. We're not talking about hundreds of millions of dollars when it comes to the ammo and twine. And so, whenever it's an amount that is under, I think, $6 million, then Canada doesn't require the nation to vote on that or to place it into a trust account. It's a different process. Are we good to move on? So in our travels, we came across some documents that had suggested that there was a timber surrender granted for your main reserve. We all know what transpired over at Little Red, right? We just talked about that. All the funny business that went on there. We're trying to find out if the same thing happened on your main reserve. And right now this is also in the research phase. So we've contracted Joan Holmes and Associates to do that research. They do a lot of research for First Nations. And as part of that process, we're going to be undertaking elder interviews. We've started some of that. As recent as last summer, we started for some of these new claims. So I don't really have any more to report on that until we see that research report. But once we receive it, then we can report to the membership on it and on next steps. Any questions about this one? Bombing range claim. I bet some of you weren't aware that there were military activities being conducted on your reserve. I've done some, I started doing elder interviews with your community way back in probably 2018, I think was when I first remember doing that work. And some of your elders were saying that they had family members reporting that they were on the lake fishing or hunting or doing whatever else. And there were bombs and stuff going over their heads. Now, me being, a thorough lawyer, it got me wondering if there was a claim to be had there. So I did some research, and there are claims all across Canada pertaining to these types of activities. So what we're looking at is, first of all, was Canada, did they get permission to conduct those activities on the land? Did they do it safely? And then the other part is, did they contaminate the land? And the last part being, is it safe to go out on the land today? Is it contaminated? Are there live bombs? We don't know these things, right? But we do know that these activities did take place, that there were a lot of military outposts around Prince Albert. And the researcher already started pulling all of that information, and we're waiting for a report. So this was the nature of my elder interviews this summer. I actually came out to Malinosa and conducted some interviews. I see some of my interviewees in the room. And we gathered some great information, but that work has to continue. We still have to do some of those elder interviews. So stay tuned for that one as well. But I just wanted to add that some of these claims in other jurisdictions, I mean, they're pretty significant as well. You know, in Alberta, there was a very recent claim. I think that one was worth something like $88 million. And in that case, I think the nation did give them permission to come in onto the lands, but that's where it ended. And they had to do a significant cleanup because hunters would go out on the land and they'd see all of these bombs that were still out on the land that were never retrieved. That's dangerous. Not to mention, what is that going to do to the plants and the animals, right? So another potential claim there, I mean, we won't know more until we get that research report, but again, we will report on our findings at that time. So maybe I'll just open it up if there's any, final thoughts, final questions about any of these claims. If not, we can save a lot of these burning cows and plows questions for, the next month or so. Because we'll have more to report at that time.
Oh, Dawn, there's a question right there. Go ahead.
We don't know that yet. So right now the research, what they're going to do is figure out what all went on there, right? So that's the first step, and then we might have to conduct a bunch of testing on the land and on the waters as part of the process. But we're just waiting to figure out what it is we're going to be testing for, right? So we're a little early still.
Any other questions for Dawn? If not, thank you very much, Dawn. We'll continue with the meetings for the cows and plows, and give Dawn a big hand, you guys. Okay, at this point, we're going to pause our program. I'm going to ask Stephen Ross to do bless the food for us. Stephen Ross.
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to apologize for being late earlier, and I got some flack over it. Dean texted me, you're late. But you know, Dean, I want to tell you something. Some of us have certain powers And when I was coming through the doors, and I was thinking about being late, and I wasn't in a good frame of mind, I just walked through, and the doors opened for me. I didn't realize my powers was that strong. Be careful, Dean. So we're going to give thanks to the Creator. I want to thank the people for coming over to your band assembly. And also, I've talked to a few elders, and from experience as well, from what I've seen in my earlier days, that when you say prayers, give thanks to the Creator, you don't have to stand up. You know, because I know that when I was a young fella at the trap line, our family would say the evening prayer. They'd sit down on the floor. They'd sit down on the floor. And during, in the middle there sometime, they'd turn around, face the other way. And the same with our elders down south as well. I found out that they also sat down as well. So if you want to give thanks to the Creator, you can speak it in the language. You can sit, stand, sit on the floor, lie down. It doesn't matter. If you're serious, He'll understand. He understands. And if you're serious, you want to so I'm going to give thanks to the Creator for our food.
Yeah, so my name is Eldon Henderson. The other urban councillor. I started back in 2017, and we've seen some changes in our nation, and we worked with I think 3 different chiefs since we started, and our term is until March 2027, so that's our next general election. But I just want to do a brief update. So I want to thank the staff first, I guess, for help coordinating this band assembly here in Saskatoon, and thank our council, our elders, and our youth for making it here. I know a lot of people in Saskatoon text me and said they're not going to make it, and that's because they got some busy lives and just not able to make for tonight. I want to begin by thanking our part of our board of directors for NLC and Urban Services. We got incorporated back in 2019, Jeff? 2019. But prior to that, from 2017 to 2019, we were kind of operating as a committee, and then we got incorporated. So that's some of the background on Urban Services Inc. And we do have a full board of directors. I know Larry Burgess. So Larry sat on our board a few years ago. Then he left to go work for the nation as a health director, if that's right, yeah. And we had applications sent out to membership for board of directors, and then Larry reapplied, and so he got selected as back on our team. So welcome back, Larry. We'll work towards our first board of director meeting here soon. The other board of director I see is editing. Editing, if you could stand. Thank you. So editing, how long were you here on board for? How many since? Okay, yes? Yeah. Yeah, late Shirley Henderson, my late sister-in-law, Dean's mom. Her and late Arnold Nitauho. Those were 2 board members that we lost last year, a little over a year ago, and we dearly miss them on our board. And they always used to be very, I guess, always give us advice, right, moving forward, so hard to replace them. And then we have Fonzie as our new board of director. Fonzie, can you stand up? Yeah, so he's our new board of director for urban services, and Larry's back. And we have Eileen Bell from Saskatoon. So there's three board of directors that were sworn in, so to speak. And so we have our whole team put together now, and we're being proactive, and we've got a lot of work ahead, and we're steady busy every day, even weekends. So, but just to go briefly into my report, I just want to mention I'm supposed to be on holidays this week, and but I didn't realize I was to speak tonight. But that's very honorable there, Don. I guess the first part is that one of the things that's coming up right away is our 4th annual urban post-secondary and high school graduation. So that's our 4th annual. That's coming up end of June. And every year we have high school grads, and then we also have post-secondary grads. And every year we honor them. And this is our 4th year coming up. We just want to let everybody know that we did create something in the area of education and post-secondary. And we're kind of following suit with Montreal Lake Post-Sec. But one of our new things that we created was, it's called the Senator Nolan Henderson Scholarship. And it's something new and something that we're going to activate this year. We're going to launch it officially. And there's going to be different categories, because Montreal Lake right now, Montreal Lake Post-Sec, they do have, I think, 6 scholarships, right, Bonnie? The last 2 years, Montreal Lake Post-Sec has approached us, and they've given out 6 awards at our urban Christmas dinners. So that's Vice Chief Dean's portfolio, and Alyssa, I believe, that's Post-Sec. So we're going to follow with their footsteps, but like I said, we have Dr. Sean Lassard helping me and our team, and we'll probably have an update for our board of directors meeting, our next meeting coming up. So that's a priority, high priority for us in terms of education, because we do have to help sponsor our band members far and wide, and even out of province. So we're looking forward to launching it, and we'll have an app, have its own app possibly. It depends what the board of directors want and our team. So we are building like a committee. So for a post-sec committee, urban post-sec education committee. So we're going to get that going too this year. So the scholarship, like I say, it's going to be launched. We will get that out to you as soon as we can, and the poster too for the next grad. One of the things that we're striving for is an extra urban office in Saskatoon. So I believe we're going to be just next door here at Kakteestahau. So that's where we're going to be operating out of in, I would say, maybe March, April of this year. So that's where you can come and find us. So both urban offices will be operating fully. We expect to be busy as usual, as we are now. There's going to be, I think Levi is going to be doing a presentation later. So Levi has been really helping us in the area of sports and youth. So he'll do his report. But we need to expand a little bit more, because when I was up at L'Orange, the Christmas dinner over there, and Regina, so that's Orange, Regina. When I was up there for the Christmas dinners, we got those going a few years ago. And it's always a full capacity every time we have that. But you'll hear stories from them. One of the areas is youth, sports, and rec. There's just not enough support there. And I believe that once we fully start our urban sports program, whether it's going to be incorporated, a sports corporation, or whatever it's going to be, I think it's going to be far-reaching. Levi, I think he plays a major role in that with JP and other things. But I guess one of my points is that we have to represent our urban members from Larange, Weaquin, Timber Bay, PA, Saskatoon, and Regina, and anywhere in between. We've had a mandate for now, 5 years now, I think it is. And how do I say this? I believe we're advancing compared to other urban reserves, urban initiatives, programs. And we have so much work that sometimes it's overwhelming. Because you get into health, you get into addictions, you get into those areas, and that's some of the areas that I kind of highlighted here. Is one of the areas that we want to build up is our urban health. We're planning a meeting with the CEO for the Health Authority, Saskatchewan Health Authority, and so I've been in engagement with them, and in Saskatoon as well too, but there are some gaps there in the health system that we're looking at. We're actually looking at it and trying to zero in as to how they can transfer some of their services, their programming over to the new MLCN Urban Health, whatever you want to call it, program. But that's just one area. I mean, there's other areas here that we're going to mention here. One of the things that Gary Daniels talked about tonight, our CEO for MLBV, and that's creating jobs. He was talking about the One Sky OSB project. So I sit on the board for One Sky Forestry, and the construction is supposed to begin this spring, 2025. And there's going to be jobs from that too in the area of construction, security. We want to have our own full-fledged MLCN security company, and we have a lot of trained security in Montreal Lake. And I think about what they're doing there. So I'm thinking that we could just somehow we have to figure something out there. But the OSD plant, we had the media release, a news conference in Prince Albert with the Premier and his ministers, and so we've been going back and forth to Regina for meetings with at the Ledge Building, and from time to time there'll probably be about 4 or 5 ministers in the meeting because it impacts different areas, training, employment, and other areas. So we've been working hard towards trying to get this plant up and running, and like Gary said, it's going to create spin-off projects, spin-off opportunities. And one of the things where that site is, I think Larry Burgess worked there at Wapaweka Lumber, right, Larry? So Wapaweka Lumber was owned by Larange Band, Peter Ballantyne, and Montreal Lake. This was a few years ago. So Wapaweka operated, I think, about 8-9 years, Larry? And I think you were there from day one, right? Yeah, so when you think about a bigger project, the way it looks right now, if you look at the Siga or the Whitecap Casino, you can fit 3 of them into our plant. So if you've been to Big River plant, the Carrier, Dunkley up on the east side, and then Middle Lake. So then we got ours. We're going to get ours up and running. I guess one of the other things too is creating a new urban employment and training in trades and skills. So those are some of the things that we're working on. Our land claims committee, we got that established, and let's see, there was back in the day, Jeff, when we created the governance committee. What year was that? 2018. So back then, we had, I think it was Frank was chief at that time, And we decided that we needed something that's going to help our governance system. So we created the governance committee. From there, Jeff was part of that, got him involved in that, and then now it's growing. So they're doing some good work there in areas of governance. One of the other things we did in land-based is we created Kitaski Now. So Kitaski Now, I'm going to ask, who's heard of Kitaski Now in the room here? Maybe put your hands up so I have an idea. Yeah, see, there's not too many. But Kitaski Now came from Cusky Forestry, and then we dissolved Cusky Forestry, then we got it into MLBV. So Kitaski Now is still under MLBV, and we do provide grants between $250 to $1,000. So if you guys need to try to get your hands on those forms, just send me a text. Or Simpson Itaha was a chair. So yeah, so that's going good. It's an annual. We give them an annual budget of $125 a year, and that's not too bad for. Well, Billy's on there. Billy's been on there from day one. So it's going good. Kitaski Now is going good, and more work ahead. I guess some of the other closing comments is that our urban office in Saskatoon, as soon as we get that, as soon as we sign our lease, we'll probably send out something on our app, Montreal Lake app, and our website for urban services. So we'll get that up and running as soon as we can. And so, anyways, we got a long night here, so I just want to thank everybody for attending, and have a good trip back home. Good night.
Thank you, Eldon. I just want to call up the other urban councillor from, he's based out of Prince Albert, but I'm going to call up Jeff Badger to come and say a few words.
Thanks, Don. Good evening, everyone. I just want to add on to some of the discussions that we're dealing with today for urban services. I don't know if you're all familiar with it, but we do have a website, mlcanurbanservices.com. So if you want to learn more about urban services and what we're doing, you can go onto our website. I guess I just wanted to add on to some of the discussions that are taking place in Prince Albert. Just for your information, we're working on several projects. Right now I've been working with Prince Albert Friendship Center to do different partnership initiatives. So one of the initiatives that we're doing is we're creating a cultural site at Little Red River Park. So we're going to also be playing a big role there in creating that cultural site. So when it's being developed and it's the media is on hand and you see all this activity going on at the cultural site, just know that we played a role in that cultural site. So we're doing joint submissions with the Friendship Center to bring in some revenue to offset the cost to build a cultural site. So there's going to be a Powell Arbor, there's going to be a sweat lodge, there's going to be elders, storytelling, teachings, all that stuff. So we want to be involved in the Prince Albert development. So we're also working with the City Council in Prince Albert to bring some partnerships together. We want to partner up with the city. So one of the discussion pieces that we're having is where can we play a role in bringing urban housing to Prince Albert for our membership. Urban housing it's a huge piece that our members are getting evicted from all these apartment complexes in Prince Albert that are being, I guess, capitalized by East Indians or different people. So, and on top of that, the rent is being increased. So the challenges of our people being put in low-income housing is increasing. So the challenges are very great, you know. So what can we do to supplement? So we've been approved for it's called Nietzsche Housing. We put in a submission to I can't remember the organization, but we have consultants that are working with us to bring in some revenue. And Nietzsche Housing has played a big role in preventing some of our members from being evicted. Played a big role in accommodating first month's rent and damage deposit for a lot of our band members. We've also supplemented some of our elders that are just struggling to meet day-to-day needs. You know, it's very challenging when you see our elders struggling. You know, we had one elder that was trying to reach out to me, and I was pretty busy, but we finally been able to get in touch with this elder, and she was on the brink of getting evicted, nowhere to go. And that's just one case, and there's several. So you know, this is the work that we're trying to do for our members that are off reserve, and we're slowly chipping away at becoming successful in these applications. So we had the funder of Nietzsche's walk in our urban office to come and visit our organization to see what we're all about, and she was very happy to see the development that's taken place within LCN Urban Services Inc. So you know, that funder walked out the door with a statement saying that there may be a commitment of $300,000 with the next intake. So we're just waiting. So if that happens, I mean, we've accommodated members for in Regina, Saskatoon, Prince Albert, and Orange with the Nietzsche funding. So it's been somewhat, I would say, there was a sense of satisfaction at the same time, a sense of, we haven't done enough. So, that's a lot, there's a lot of work, and just like Eldon says, there's a lot of work that needs to take place. And Nietzsche Housing has sure played a big role in making our job a lot easier. But the work's not done. So hopefully we can make some headway with urban housing. So one of the pieces that needs to happen in order for us to be successful for urban housing is we need land. Land is a key component to us being successful for urban housing. So right now we're in discussions with the city to try and find an allocation of land. And if we have to purchase the land, that's a decision that needs to be made once the proposal is submitted. So, and CMHC, they're totally on board with the urban housing plan, but we need to have proof that we have the land. So these are projects that can be a reality with the support of everyone. Economic development, we look at the amount of rent that we're paying in the Sturgeon Lake office complex building in Prince Albert. We just had our band manager sign a lease agreement for 5 more office spaces. So between those office rent and our office rent, why can't we start submitting a proposal for a long-term investment? Purchasing our own building. That's a proposal that needs to be developed, and that's what we want to do. I mean, this will be an investment for all of our band members, regardless of where they live. You look at the amount of rent that we pay just for boardroom space. I mean, that could be a huge cost saver if we had our own boardroom in the off-reserve sector. There's a lot of meetings that take place in the urban setting, so if we had our own board meeting, It would be a huge cost saver for the nation overall. So, there's a lot of different areas of development that we're looking at. And, food security is huge. With what's going on in the United States, it could affect us. The amount of, Virgil and I were just laughing at some of the things that we're learning. Just a carton of eggs it's extreme now. It's becoming a reality where a carton of eggs it's what, $12 for 12 eggs in the States. And it's going to be more expensive to accommodate. So what does that mean? It's going to be more challenging for us as urban members urban council to accommodate food security, and it's already a challenge today. The number of requests that come in for food, it's extreme. And addictions is also playing a role in food security. People, when they're dealing with addictions, they're not buying food. So then we're getting triple the amount of requests. So, the challenges of accommodating membership for food, gift cards, it's becoming more and more. And we're seeing it, and sometimes, we have a group of guys like Eldon mentioned, the Katuskinam crew. They played a big role in accommodating our off-reserve members by going out and getting moose. We processed the moose and we had guys go out and distribute the moose. It took a big weight off of our shoulders. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress at times, and it still needs to continue. We talk about urban office. What I wanted to bring tonight, but I was kind of hoping that the auditor would have had it. I wouldn't have asked him. It was a breakdown of our urban expenses. I was kind of hoping that he would have reported on our urban expenses tonight. I did get a general overview before I left the office, and like Eldon mentioned, urban, they used to run off a committee. The committee ran off of different members of the nation that lived in the urban setting, and that committee worked towards accommodating the needs of off-reserve. And they had a budget of, annual budget of $200,000 annual budget. And I'll just say this right now, this year alone, our total revenue was just over $3 million. So that just goes to show how much work we've done, how far we've come, but we can go a lot further. We can do big things. We just need to prepare to work, be proactive in bringing in funding. We need to make sure we do the proposals, and we need to account for them. And with good audits, we can open many doors. So this is the work that we need to present. This is the work that we need to report, and this is the work that we need to be accountable to. So when we talk about urban services, like I mentioned earlier, when we're doing the audit, we'd like to do a separate AGM just to deal with urban business. What are the future plans? Who can be involved? When can our band members have an opportunity to jump on our board? What does it take to be on the board? There's a lot of components that needs to come to you, just so you're aware. And it's all a part of capacity development, because we're not going to be here forever, so we need to pass on the torch. So that's what's part of the thing that needs to be addressed. So there's so much to talk about, and with that, I don't want to take too much more time, so I just wanted to address some of the things that we're working on, and we'll see you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I guess next we have Jason and is going to present on and report on lands and what they've been working on. So Jason, you can come up here.
Thank you, Don. Thank you for everybody being here today. The last good meeting I missed them over this morning or this afternoon, this evening. Thank you. Elders Council are here. Thank you. The last one of JB all of you, to the young people that are here. It's good to see you all. Our Chief Council, our members, glad to be here today. Today is mostly going to be a presentation from Alvin Delorme. Alvin Delorme is from Salt. But also I'm just going to spend a little bit of time with my work. So I work with land and resources. And the biggest thing right now we're working on is our land code, which is scheduled for May 15th. So we're going to be going to the polls on May 15th for a land code. A land code is basically, what it's going to do is it's going to give us back our right to control our lands, develop laws on our lands. It's a government-to-government deal with Canada. So Canada, ISC will no longer be involved in making decisions on our land. So that's both for Little Red and Montreal Lake. So one of the things we're going to be doing is I'll be working with Alphonse. We're going to be developing some information, uploading, loading information on our app, the Montreal Lake app. So if you don't have the app, make sure you get the app. But May 15th is going to be the big date when we will have an online vote. We'll have on-site voting. But in between then, we will also have 4 community meetings, Saskatoon, PA, Little Red, and Montreal Lake. So look out for those. We will set dates for those, and once we get everything in place, we'll have all that information for you for your review, for your vote yes or vote no. But again, it'll be in your hands. So I just want to move on to the next couple of other things that I've been working on. That's garbage that comes from our lake shore. That was picked up in October, just right after snow. So we do this twice a year along our lake shore. 1-2 days of collecting garbage, that's probably just half of what we've collected there. We've picked up couches, furniture, parts, cans, all kinds of things. So in the winter we do that as well. In the winter there's a lot of plastics, a lot of fishermen come there. We have about on any given weekend we can have between 20 and 50 vehicles on the lake. And that's a lot of garbage piled up. I think some of you have seen beer cans and garbage at the beach on Facebook. So there are things we're trying to prevent but also clean up. So that's just one of them. We can go to the next one. Another thing that we worked on, again, I'm really extremely thankful to our leadership for this. In Molinosa, we had a situation where our graveyard was starting to wash away. We have no graveyard in Molinosa. It was starting to wash away. If you can see that one corner there, that was already down. It was already taken out by the waves, the water. So we contacted JD Enterprises from Christopher Lake to come shore up the lake shore, I guess. Build a wall, retaining wall. So he was able to do that. So I think we've done a good job saving that. Now the next area we want to do is a treaty signing site. So again, thank you to our leadership. They found the resources to get this done. Something culturally important and historically important was done. So that's just some of the work that needed to be done. It was done over the winter. Where that machine is where water would have been. So that's just a little bit of other work. We have the treaty site yet to do. So, but there's more work we're doing in Molinosa, and it's another initiative. I think it's a long time. It's been a long time coming, I should say. And on that, and that's why we have Alvin Delorme here from SALT. But I just want to call up Chief Joyce for a second to maybe introduce how we got to be here with Molinosa and the initiative that her and her council have started.
So the treaties were signed in Molinosa 1889, February 11. And since then, it's been over 135 years since then. And then we're sitting around here a couple of years ago, and it also started off with the PMT sitting there in Little Red, and we had problems with the bridge that was built back in the day, over 60 years ago, 75 years ago, a little bridge that needs to be replaced. And we're all sitting there, and we're trying to figure out, well, what do we do? And then one of the guys from the PMT told us, I said, get a hold of the premier. So I got a hold of, and then I phoned one of the chiefs and got me the number. And then after we got the number, then I phoned Scott Moe, and then we set up a meeting to kind of start off with so I can discuss with the new bridge. And we did have money already from ISK, but we needed because the bridge had so many, the Shellbrook claimed it, the Shellbrook, there's Christopher Lake, there's Paddywood, there's Montreal Lake, there's all kinds of jurisdiction issues there. So we talked about we said we're going to talk about the bridge, we're going to talk about the Malanosa, especially the graveyard and where the treaties are signed. It will mean the highway that was built, and then after that the highway that was built, and also Timber Bay Children's Home. So we had all these items that we need to speak to the premier. So I asked for a meeting, and then I figured, we're just going to sit in a meeting, have a meeting at the band office, I thought, and then all of a sudden the vice chief says, well, we need this, we need this. I said, holy smokes, it was kind of like we had to make it all, we had all the food. We had to hire cooks, we had to hire people, we did that, like everything just ran smoothly. And then after that, we gave him our issues, what we should be doing, and then after that he thought it was a good idea. After all, it's taken over 135 years. So he left in a good note, and we couldn't take him fishing, we couldn't take him to Malanosa because it had rained at that time. And also our road condition wasn't that great either. When he came down, it was just bouncing all over. So anyway, we set another meeting. I mean, we're supposed to have another meeting. And then when we went to the Malanosa, we had asked for three parts, where we have a Malanosa days where we would gather traditional grounds for years and years, and then the treaty, and then where we had the cabins, we had bought cabins for our youth. And then, so we needed three parts of that, the land. And then after that, that's what we wanted. And then when he came to Malanosa, like I didn't even invite him, and all of a sudden he's out there, him and the security all came there. And then they did a presentation, and at that time he told us, I said, this is the letter of intent. I said, we are going to talk about this, but I'm going to make sure, I need the maps, I need the BCR, I need this and that, so we can start working on it. So hopefully this year, if we can do it this year by Malanosa Days, it's going to be a very historic time. And I say that because our leaders, our former leaders, have been working on this for years, and they've been wanting this, and they've been, some of them are leaving us, our elders are leaving us. So if that is possible, I think we're going to go ahead and do it. And it's about time, because regarding every time we remove a tree from the water, we have to get a permit. Every time we cut a tree down, so we have to ask for a permit. All these years we've been there, Malanosa Days, that's what we have to do, because the land is all provincial land. It's not part of the reserve, although a lot of people didn't know that. So anyway, I'm looking forward to this time, this year, and I'm looking forward to getting the land from the province. And I think we're gonna do it. I have very, very positive, because a friend of a friend of a friend. I'm not even going to say it because I'm on camera. Because, but you know, I think this is positive. This is a positive move for our council, for Montreal Lake, to make that thing historic. So I think that's what our elders deserve. That our trappers deserve that. We have meeting after that. We're going to be hosting meetings in Malanosa, and also Timber Bay and Weaquin, because there's all kinds of people out there. But oh yeah, I this year I was invited to the throne speech, the Premier's inauguration. I was the only chief sitting there, and the Grand Chief and David Pratt from the FSI and all these Montreal all over it. We're all sitting there, and there's just me and Carol were there because I asked Carol to come with me, and so it is. And then should I say Dean? Dean, of course. I'm gonna say it anyway. So you know, we're all sitting there in the office, and as soon as he saw us, he rushed us to his office to have our private meeting. So Carol, of course, Carol. Dino said hi. Dino said hello to you. Can I put you on a video? He said okay. Hello, Dino. This is Scotty. Hey, I wish you were here. So I think they became real close friends. So we'll keep you updated, and I think it's very positive. It's a positive move. You can say hi.
Thank you, Chief. So as you're all aware, a couple of months after that, the Chief the Premier issued a press release saying he would support Montreal Lake Cree Nation in acquiring Malanosa. So congratulations to you, our leadership, and to everyone else here. So with that, I want to hand it over to Alvin. Alvin's been doing a lot of work for us, so he'll continue to do our work. So, here you go.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. My name is Alvin Delorme. I work with Saskatchewan Aboriginal Land Technicians. My position is I'm the ATR, Additions to Reserve Unit Lead. So I've been working in specific claims for quite a while. I've been a TLE trustee, I've been a TLE coordinator, I've been a specific claims coordinator, and I've been a senior Indigenous land claims advisor with the government of Saskatchewan. So as part of that, we've managed claims have been settled, we bought the land, did the ATR, we did some of the research, gathering the details for the research, for the lawyers to make the submission to Canada, to get into negotiations. We've done that build up to negotiating claims. We've managed lands as little as 160 acres, as much as 18,000 acres. So it's the same process, it's just scope. It's just more land. So we want to be brief. We know you've had a long night, but you've been sitting here listening to a lot of excellent presentations. We're going to talk to you about some of our experience with specific claims and additions to reserve. So SALT, we're champions of Indigenous land management, and why does it matter? Why should First Nations manage their own lands? We've occupied our traditional territories in accordance with our unique cultural practices since time immemorial. So if we've been here forever, we'll be here into the future as well. We have a deeply rooted connection to the land. It's our most important asset. So even though all of our land, it says the Crown, right, Her Majesty, if it's an old title, and His Majesty in a new one, but that land is held by the Crown as a trustee for the nation. So when people say it's not your land, it's Crown land, they're just your trustee. They're holding it for you, for your benefit. Land is important. It'll provide for people today. and generations to come. And that's why Indigenous perspective is so important. We know what we want to do now. We know we're planning for the future as well. So at SALT, boiling it down, we're a peer-led organization helping people, land technicians to manage Indian reserve lands. My role is fee simple lands. So I help First Nations acquire land, manage it in fee simple, and convert it to reserve. SALT has been in existence since 1993. And originally it was started as a communication tool to communicate government changes in policy to land managers, and now we're shifting to where we're more empowering First Nations. I started working with Montreal Lake. I got a call, and there was just one hard copy of your traditional land use area. So I digitized that, sent it back to the nation, set the perimeter, how many hectares and acres were birthed in your traditional land use area. Part of the next step is, it's a very expensive process, but how do you get your elder interviews? How do you start to quantify and show where you're occupying the land, where you're harvesting, anything that you harvest on the land? But that was just the seeded work. From there, I'm calling it the Molinosa project because I work on projects all the time. So really what it is provincial crown land being transferred to Montreal Lake Cree Nation as a reserve. Right? So because we did the map and we had an introduction there, the next contact was what experience do we have in, because of the ATR work, what experience do we have in transitioning crown land to a reserve? And I was up front with council. I said, in Saskatchewan, no First Nation has managed to get crown land without a specific claim. So it hasn't happened before. Oh. So just because something hasn't happened before doesn't mean you can't do it today. So we prepared some technical comments for the Chief and Council. You're leasing the land, and normally when you're leasing the land, you can ask to buy the land. You're using the land actively. You have your gatherings, you have a cemetery there, you sign treaty there. That land is of cultural significance. And we said, if you have all these arguments and bundle them and push it politically, that's the way to do it. We actually met with council, sent the same thing to them again, just so they can understand. You can read it, but when somebody walks you through it, sometimes you can grasp it better. We helped again with digital mapping. We started off, originally was the area around Harold Johnson's campsite, the cemetery, the treaty signing site. There was 3 small blocks. And Chief of Council come back and said, can we do a larger block? So we did this larger block. And then they went back into the community because they didn't do this on their own. I think they had a land claims committee. They talked to that committee. I think this is Molinosa days, we went to the camp. After talking to the committee said that there was more land use than what was in that simple block, and they asked to have the land expanded, the selection expanded, to include the highway. So this was part of the submission to the Premier, right? So it isn't just getting the submission to the Premier, but the nation also talks to neighboring chief and councils, right? Peter Ballantyne and Lac-La-Ronge Indian Band, who also have an interest in the land, and they agreed as nations to let Montreal Lake lead the charge and set it apart as reserve. After it had gone to the meeting and the Premier was asking for the map, we met with Natural Resources Canada and we saw, it's called the Township Fabric. And the survey costs are higher if you don't follow the Township Fabric. So that's why this is an expanded selection from what the nation had provided, because it aligns with the anticipated Township Fabric. And this is what was sent to Saskatchewan to say, this is the land that was desired. So right now Saskatchewan is reviewing it. And like the chief was saying, a friend of a friend, I had a friend contact me and said, Alvin, we're doing this provincial review. One of my colleagues says no. And then, but the Premier says yes, so we're doing it. And he said, never in Saskatchewan has a nation been able to have land available without a specific claim. So when your leadership say, we're doing something that's never been done. So we're still waiting for a response. I took a screen capture. This is on the Government of Saskatchewan website, so, and a QR code. What's the next steps? Negotiated price. It's about 1,400 acres. Now when I say negotiated price, the nation will probably lean more towards it's our occupied area, we want it at a nominal fee. Saskatchewan as a public crown may need to sell it at fair market value. So there could be some back and forth determining what the transaction would be. After all of that's done, there'll be a transaction, legal counsel will do the change in title, and then you start the 8-year addition to reserve. Now, how does SALT help you with this? We're not a consultant. Montreal Lake is not paying me. It's not paying SALT. Indigenous Service Canada funds SALT to help First Nations with additions to reserve. So for me, when I presented to council, when I sat with council, I said the 8-year process is relatively simple. For you, the big challenge is getting the Crown land. And they talked to me, they talked to other people, and with all of the advice that they received, that's what they had when I see the submission to Premier Mo, it must have been an inch thick of all the material that they submitted to him. So they did a lot of research and before they submitted it. So like I said, we're peer-led on Indian land management. We're peer-led. We help First Nations to navigate the process of addition to reserve. It's a free technical support, so even travel expenses are paid by SALT. We don't ask First Nations to pay anything on that for our help. It's anticipated it'll take 4 to 7 years for reserve creation. And First Nations must speak for themselves. So what that means is we're not going to come out and say, Montreal Lake wants this. We're gonna prepare all the messaging. We'll help draft the letters, but Montreal Lake has to send it themselves, right? So it's about building capacity as a nation, because this additional reserve is technical. There's 29 major milestones and hundreds of steps altogether. But telling somebody all of that will overwhelm them. So we just help them, this is your next step. Don't worry, we're moving forward. Addition to reserve policy, so I'm trying not to get too much into it, but there's 4 phases. Initiation, that's where the nation acquires the land, sends information to Canada to say we want to create reserve. assessment and review. Canada looks at the information, and then they will issue a letter to the nation to say they'll move forward. Proposal completion, this is where the nation will do its work. This is where the majority of time is spent on reserve creation and approval. It goes to headquarters for the minister to sign. There's some major milestones, but I don't want to get too much into it. Listen. Okay. The closing slides were just about SALT, our vision, mission, and purpose, but I don't want to, you've been here all night, so I just want to end there.
Anybody have any questions for Alvin or Jason? If not, Bonnie, you're up. Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Bonnie LaValle, for the ones that don't know me. I've been with the post-secondary program for like a year and a half now. This is a long evening already, so I'll make the report short. I'm done. Montreal Post-Secondary supports our band membership in pursuing post-secondary studies. The students have to be enrolled in a program of at least 8 months that leads to a certificate, diploma, or degree. For the fall of 2024, we had received over 100 applications and 57 students were selected from them. For the winter term, we selected 13 full-time students. So with a total of 10 students that have withdrawn or discontinued for various reasons, this leaves us with a total of 60 full-time students that we are currently funding. And for the full-time students, that includes their living allowance, tuition, books, and other supports like daycare. And we are currently funding 14 part-time students. So these are students that are taking 2 or less classes, or if they're going through their masters or going through their PhDs. Beginning of the school year, we had student orientation drop-in sessions in Prince Albert and Saskatoon, because that's where most of our students are located in. At those drop-in sessions, we were giving out Montreal Lake swag, like we had backpacks and notepads, and in December we were supporting our students with the financial pressures that are associated with the holiday season by giving them a Christmas bonus of $500, and then we extended our further support by offering a $250 food security check that assisted with the essential needs, and that was after the Christmas holidays. Every year, the post-secondary program offers scholarships with varying amounts, and for the past 2 years, these awards were handed out at the Saskatoon Urban Christmas Dinner. In my program report that I was distributing, it lists off the students that have won these awards, and I also have on there our committee members. We have 2 from Montreal Lake, 2 from Little Red, 2 from Urban, and 1 elder. Our portfolio counselors is Dean Henderson and Alyssa Helkett. And for my post-secondary staff, it's just me and Reagan Valentine, who's our student services. And that's it.
Anyway, we're going to go to, we're supposed to go to Levi, but I think he stepped out here. Well, let's do a draw. Prevention is on the agenda, but prevention is supposed to be only on reserve. So we're a little worried about making reports when they're supposed to be only on reserve. They will do a report in Little Red and Montreal Lake. And the acting prevention director said his report will be online after the assembly on the app. Any more draws? If not, Levi, you're up here.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is my report for the youth center. My name is Levi Nelson. I started this position back in June of 2024. When I started my first day, it was kind of intimidating. We had the premier Scott Moe at the youth center, and I didn't know what I was getting myself into that day. It was a good day. So from when I started, I'll just do my program highlights here. Back in June, like I said, I started as a director. I came in not knowing much about the program, but I quickly learned the task and kept the program going and meeting with staff from both Montreal Lake and Little Red Youth Centers. My previous positions with MLCN allowed me to utilize my experience I gained and applied it to this program. Meeting with staff, during that month we did a lot of planning for the summer break. We completed budgets, chaperone list, and signing up youth for summer camps and purchasing supplies for the camps and getting the prep work done to get the sites ready. And we call it Johnson's Camp, which is just not too far from the main Molinosa site. When I started in June, I was the only urban youth center worker, I guess, at the time. But I was also taking care of the Montreal Lake and Little Red. And as a director, I was also coordinating, because like I said, we didn't have the staff at the time. In July, I guess I'll just read up here. In July, we had first camps. We had some difficulties. We had 40 youth and 11 chaperones. It was a hot week. We kept the kids busy with swimming and keeping them cooled down. One of the downfalls during that time was we only had one porta potty. And like I said, we had like over 50 people at camp with one porta potty. We tried to make accommodations for them by bringing in porta potties and putting them at the main site. But with so much things going on with the nation, like it didn't work out at the time. We needed the porta potties for another event we're having in Little Red with the powwow. During that month, a lot of our staff were heavily involved with the sports and rec program. We've been tasked with driving kids out to tryouts, chaperoning, and during July, like I was attending meetings with sports and rec for the annual Wallanosa Culture Days planning. In August, it was one of our busiest months during the summer. We had a camp during Wallanosa Days because we have to postpone a camp due to the wildfires in July. And during the Wallanosa Days, we sponsored the ceremonial sweats, and we had a two-day break. And after that 2 days, we were up in L'Orange for the summer games, and all my youth center staff from Montreal, Little Red, we all attended there. I'm the youth center director, but I was asked to take care and coordinate the sports and rec event for this summer games. So I did the coordinating, I did this distributing of the funds for the week, which included chaperone fees, the cook fees, athletes' daily allowance, and purchasing the equipment needed for this week of competition. And it was pretty successful for us, for Team Woodland. I'm pretty sure, I didn't see the final results, but I'm pretty sure we won the 2020 Summer Games. We had 65 youth attend, and over half of them came home with medals, and a lot of them were gold medals. So that's something that a lot of the kids were pretty proud. My staff had like a week break, but still going to work for that week, and then another busy week after that with a youth trip to Banff, and I'm pretty sure they made a day trip to Golden, BC at the time. It was a great turnout. The youth enjoyed themselves. They had to endure all weather conditions. It was hot, it was snowing, it was raining, it was hailing, and some of the kids, like, they put their camp right at the bottom of a hill, and with the heavy rain, their tent filled up with water. So after the coordinators called me, I called our leadership, and we got them set up in hotel rooms in Calgary, and got all their clothing dried, and they stayed in Calgary for the next 3 days of that trip. In September, it was back to school, cooler weather. We did some planning for land-based learning, taking kids on a hunting trip. We went out with the big group from Montreal Lake with the school, the Child Family Agency, the health center, and we sent out, I want to say like 30 youth to this hunting trip. It was a hot week that week, and only a few moose were harvested and taken back to the community for the members. We had a 2-day break there, then we attended a CFL Rough Riders game in Regina. It was a Truth and Reconciliation game. We had a total of 60 youth, 20 youth from Montreal Lake, 20 from Little Red, and 20 from the urban sector, and it was Prince Albert and Saskatoon. It was a great experience. A lot of the kids, it was their first ever professional game that they got to witness live. That's one of the first events I joined the youth on, and like I enjoyed the game. It was fun. It was good to see the smiles and on the youth space, and we took them out for supper and drove them home late that night. In October, it was a busy month. We did the recruiting and conducting interviews along with HR from Montreal Lake at the time was Pamela Valley and Lisa Haney. Myself and our coordinator, Destiny Halkett, and one of our urban employees, Gloria Nicao, sat in as our elder, and our MLCA youth coordinator, Tammy McKenzie. They selected 3 young ladies to join our urban services youth program. One of them is Ariana Nelson, Justice Britton, and Kashina Halkett. There was like 6 applicants, but the way they made their decision was the non-restricted driver's license and also having their grade 12 diplomas. The other applicants were missing one of the 2. So with each of the sectors youth center positions filled, we were able to have more youth attend our programming. With the urban sector, it's a little difficult because we don't have a set facility like Montreal Lake and Little Red. It's not from lack of looking for one, but it's just trying to work around the city rules along with like the business license and finding something that's feasible. Like that's going to be cost effective. We have a working partnership with the Prince Albert Métis Friendship Center. Shane Bird is the guy's name that we work with. He has a facility coming up. It's on the west side of Prince Albert. It's an old school. I don't remember the name of it, but he has a floor set for us if we want it. Everything's taken care of, like with the business license, so we won't need to worry about that. It'll be all under the Friendship Center. In November, November we had a training for our staff. We just utilized the PAGC boardroom. We bring in all sectors, Montreal Lake, Little Red, and Urban, and all our staff received a behavioral management and applied suicide intervention skills training. It was a time for our staff and everything to come together. It'd be like first time since I've been here that all staff worked together, and got to meet each other. Although a lot of them are family, and I believe it made our team stronger, better communication. In December was one of our busiest months for all sectors. We got suppers, Christmas suppers. We distributed gifts from the youth sectors. The Urban Youth Center did theirs at the community Christmas supper in Prince Albert. We took 60 youth to a Edmonton Oilers game versus Ottawa Senators. That was in December 20th and 23rd. The kids were able to go do some last minute Christmas shopping for their parents or family. The Little Red, Montreal Lake, urban staff, they all enjoyed a 2-week holiday. I know it's a heavy workload for them to come to work every day and to work with the youth. And during that time, we had casuals fill in for our 2 set centers in Montreal Lake, Little Red. In January, we're still in January, but the staff came back from a break, and we quickly got our calendars up and started programming again. We're utilizing Jared Nelson quite a bit to help teaching the youth the importance of land-based teachings and survival. He's providing all centers the opportunities for youth to give back to their communities by distributing moose meat and fish to elders in their own homes. All the staff participated in the professional development training in Edmonton last week. I sat in there along with leadership, and it was good to hear the feedback from the staff and to hear what they want to bring in for programming coming up here. And here's some of the training that our staff are going to require. First aid, assist training we completed. We want to take crisis intervention and de-escalation training, leadership training. They got the behavioral management. We need critical thinking, decision making, defensive driving. We really need that is because we're driving all the youth everywhere. We're taking them out of province, we're taking them out of the reserve into the city, and I think it'd be beneficial to have our drivers trained to handle any situation. Like I said, we completed the professional development. For updates on our program calendar, we post on each center's Facebook page, and we will be posting all our information on the NLCN app and the Urban Services website. That's my presentation for the urban sector. I didn't share anything about the other ones because I got to do that in the next couple days here. So I have another little update here from Destiny, the coordinator. But before I take this off, if you want to save my number or my email, like if you have any questions later or concerns or recommendations, like please feel free to contact me. I'm here to help our nation and better service our youth. So my number's here, and my email if you want to write it down or save it. I don't know how to do it. So here's my number and my email. So, better? Is there any questions from my report? Thank you. And I will just do a quick report on the coordinators. Okay, so here's Destiny Healthcare's report. Destiny came in, I think it was August, Destiny? Started in August, September. So here's the staff and community events photos. Here's this quote that she shared: we cannot always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future. And that's so true. So our agenda here, the introduction to MLCN Urban Youth Staff, the program service provided from October to December, the stats, attendance, cost, photos of events, and final comments. So this is Destiny, this is our coordinator. She grew up in Little Red, mother of 3, working with youth for 5+ years. They keep her young, LOL. And she's always seen potential in youth. your passion is with youth and show them that there's a lot more to offer and see in the world. A lot of resources and support out there for them. Her favorite pastimes, sports, hockey, baseball, volleyball, soccer, and mostly golfing. And she's happy to work for her community. Justice Britain, I'll get it mixed up. Justice is another community member. 5 years experience with community outreach and youth development. Dedicated to supporting at-risk youth in urban settings, worked in various roles including mentor programs, after-school initiatives, focused on building resilience and promoting positive life choices among young people, believes in power of connection and strives to create safe spaces for youth to express themselves and grow. Through her work, she's seen firsthand the transformative impact of guidance and support, inspiring to continue to advocate for youth and youth empowerment in the community. She's, like I said, she's also an LCN band member. Ariana Nelson, 20 years old, dedicated past 2 years working in childcare. She's one of our new urban youth workers. She's passionate about hockey and deep love for dogs. And Ariana is my daughter. My first baby. Sheena Halkett, one of our urban youth workers. She has 2 boys, grew up in Little Red, 5 years experience working with youth. Loves organizing activities and seeing the program come live, seeing the youth spaces light up. Makes her feel good about her job. In her spare time, she enjoys volleyball, baseball, and golfing. Some of the program services that we provide are cultural programs, language, Indigenous arts and drama, youth field trips, educational, social, family night programs, awareness presentations, health, addiction, bullying, land-based education, gaming, fishing, hunting camps, sports and recreation, and career exploration. So some of the stats from the urban sector for October, we provided four programs. We had 99 youth attend, and the cost was $4,500. In November, we had 7 programs with almost 250 youth attending, and our costs were $7,500. In December, we had 5 programs. Our attendance was 215, and our costs were $6,500. Here's some of the photos from programming that we have completed with the early program. We took females to an all-female camp in Orange. We bring youth to the Edmonton trip for the Oilers. We have pumpkin carving, Raider games, Rush games, Edmonton Oilers game, and I'm pretty sure that might be their Christmas song. Thank you. That's from Destiny Hogan. So that's it for my presentation. Thanks.
Thank you to Levi and also Destiny for their reports. As you can see, there's a lot of activity going on, youth activity, both Montreal Lake, Little Red, and also the youth center. They keep the youth busy, which is a good thing. I think that concludes our program for tonight. We are in Prince Albert tomorrow, starting at 4 o'clock. I believe we're at Plaza 88. And then Wednesday, we start at 10 a.m. at Little Red. And then Thursday, we're in Montreal Lake, and we start at 10 a.m. in Montreal Lake. So thank you for everybody that came out. Thank you for all the reports. As Chief was saying earlier, there's Conrad eating again. Sorry, Conrad, I had to follow up with what the Chief had said. I'd like to close with a prayer. I'd like to ask one of the elders to say a prayer for us so we have a safe trip home, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. So I'll ask you to say a prayer so we have a safe trip home for all of us, and we had a really good turnout and a good meeting in Saskatoon.
I would like to thank the urban sector for a very positive session on making their reports about their work. It's something that our people need to hear, and then having a good turnout tonight helps. And we get to see people that we haven't seen in a while, gives us the opportunity to visit. Thank you, urban sector. And Heavenly Father, as we go about our ways tonight, going home, whether it's in a city or back at the reserve or in Prince Albert, we pray to you for a safe journey so that we can go home to our loved ones, and that we can see each other again tomorrow and the next 2 days after that, as our leadership presents their reports for the assembly. So with that, everybody, I hope you have a safe journey home. Higose. Amen.
Thank you, everybody, and